Oh, good.
So folks, thanks for being patient. Just by way of backstory, very quickly, every year when students register for classes, we have to make some tough decisions about what we run and what we can't run. And typically we put more courses in the program of studies than we can run. And we do that intentionally because if we put too few, then we end up with a problem of potentially not being able to fill our teacher schedules and having lots of kids in study hall, which is never attractive. So is that a videotape or is that a, oh hi, who am I being videotaped for?
Roger Bell.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mr. Bell. So we build the program of studies, and we usually have more courses than we know we'll be able to offer intentionally. And the reason we do that, like I said, is so we don't end up with not enough options for kids, and then kids don't opt for courses, and then we end up with study hall. So that's the first part. So then we get students to register, and you've all gone through that process where you go through the course registration forms, and you get signatures from teachers, and teachers recommend various courses, et cetera, and then we run reports that say how many kids signed up for every course. And then we've got to make tough decisions in the departments about what's going to run and what's not going to run. And we take lots of things into consideration. We look at the curriculum, which is basically what's taught in the course. We look at what educators call the scope and sequence, which is kind of the order of courses that we have, with the 9th grade course, the 10th grade course, the 11th grade course, and the 12th grade course, and how they all kind of interplay. We look at things like that when we make those decisions. We look at the number of kids that signed up. We look at the number of teachers that we have. And we try to make the best decisions we can. So Steel Drums was a tricky one this year, and although we got an additional 0.6 of a teacher here, so like 60% of a teacher here we got an add in the budget, it still wasn't enough to run everything in music, and so we had to make a handful of cuts in music, and we had to make some tough decisions. So to make that decision with regard to Steel Drums, what would run and what wouldn't in music, we got together as a group, and Mr. Billiou was one of he's the assistant principal, he builds a master schedule, and Mrs. Umich is the house principal in charge of music, and myself, Mr. Flynn and Mr. Williams and Mr. Przmilski, all music teachers, and Mr. Przmilski is the music chair, got together and we sat around a table and we looked at the numbers and we tried to hash out all the pros and cons that we could think of. Why run Steel Drums? Why not run Steel Drums? What's the up and what's the down if we run it or if we don't? And we had conversation about if it doesn't run, what would run, and things like that. And ultimately, and we talked about how the decision was going to be made. Who makes that decision? Typically, the chairs make the decision, or they make a recommendation to the administrator who oversees the department. And then the administrative team looks it over, and kind of in most cases it runs with what the chairs recommend. In some cases we make some adjustments. But we talked a little bit as a group after we hashed out all the pros and the cons. We talked a little bit about who's going to make the decision. Is it going to be by vote? Where the people in the room are going to all have a vote and see where we are? Is it going to be by consensus, where nobody leaves until we kind of hash it out, or we schedule another time until we all can live with the decision? Is it going to be that the chair makes it? Is it going to be that I make it? Ultimately, the group decided that I would make the decision, and that I would make it after consultation with each person in the room individually, with each person at the table individually. So I scheduled meetings with everybody in the room individually over the next couple of days, and I heard everybody's kind of pros and cons and what they thought we should do with regard to run it or not run it. And I put all that stuff into, took it all into consideration and made the best decision that I thought I could for the department and for the kids and for the teachers and for the district. And the decision was not to run it, right? So some students came to me and they were concerned about that, and they wanted to have a voice in the process, and I think it's pretty cool that they did. And I'll always defend the right of kids to be able to express where they feel. And I'm not going to say that you get to make the decision, or that I'm going to run a high school by students voting, or something like that. But I think it's important as adults for us to make sure we empower students to have a voice. And here, some students, this group and others actually, some that are not here, came to me and said, we want a voice in the process, and I think that's really neat. So, and that cuts both ways as a principal, right? Sometimes students say things that are in agreement with me, and that's great, and sometimes they say things that are not necessarily in agreement, and I respect that, and I think it's important. And I'll tell you, as I hear your presentation, I go into it with totally an open mind. I made the decision the first time, but I'm interested in hearing. And I know the whole team is interested in hearing what you guys have to say. So at this point, I've made my decision as a principal. I'm certainly open to reconsider it. Mr. Manko is my boss, the superintendent of schools, so ultimately, he's kind of the next level in the chain of command of appeal, so we figured let's invite him and get him in at the ground floor to a certain extent so he could hear the presentation. So I want to turn it over to you guys and let you get going. I know we're running a little bit late and Mr. P has to run, he told me at 3, but hopefully we can get through it and we're going to hear you out. And then once you're done, we're probably not going to respond to you here and now, but we're going to take everything you said into consideration, and then we're going to schedule a time where we can sit down, the adults, the employees in the room, and we're going to talk about it, figure out if we're going to keep the decision or if we're going to change the decision. Okay, and then you'll hear from us probably within a couple of days. I don't think you guys. All right.
Good afternoon. We'd like to thank everyone who came out to see our presentation. We especially like to thank the people who came out to support, who are just students and are here to watch us. We'd like to thank the administrators for coming to listen to our point of view. So my name's Cassie Bell. This is Patrick Salerno, Stashak, Serena Questo, and Casey Bell. And that's Hayden Gunn, and he's writing the presentation. So I'd like to just begin by saying my personal experience in steel drums. So I joined steel drums back in the 8th grade, and I was introduced to the class by a friend. I had really no musical experience. I took violin in like 3rd grade. Other than that, I didn't really do anything, and I was really interested because I really do want to play an instrument. So I joined, and I was kind of nervous. Like I said, I wasn't musically inclined. But when I joined, I found out that it wasn't the same as when I joined band. They accepted me more as a family member instead of just a bandmate. By 9th grade, I was already starting to help Mr. Flynn assist in teaching the kids who were just coming into the middle school. Steel drums were invented by slaves that were placed on the island of Trinidad, and they had no other connections to the African roots but their drumming. Though none of us obviously have the same experiences as slaves, we still feel the togetherness and safety that the steel drums provide us. We aren't just a band, we're truly a family. This is one of the most unique and amazing clubs I have ever been in, and it's just incredible. It's given so many people an opportunity to learn music and join the music program when, like me, some people aren't as musically inclined as others are. Though steel drums isn't as hard as, let's say, the violin or the flute, it still takes a lot of hours of practice and dedication to learn them, and they shouldn't be treated as just a side instrument. And I know that 20% of our class, which is 5 people out of the 23, are taking band, and I know that's been a concern for, that's why like some people thought it shouldn't run, but it's still an important instrument, and it still invites many people into the music program, and it's, people in the band class aren't going to just drop it because of steel drums. So, we really chose this class not because it was just another, study hall kind of class. It's one of the most unique instruments. It's rare. This is like one of the very few schools that have steel drums. It looks really good on college applications because it's so rare. And more importantly, we chose this class because we do really enjoy it, and it is our right to choose a class that you do offer. So, we are dedicated students, and we hope that you choose wisely in your decision to bring it back. So without further ado, we worked very hard on a presentation for you, and we would like to share it. Thank you.
I have a little reading prepared, and then I'm going to talk for a little bit. Music is about diversity. It's about expanding who you are and expressing your feelings. The students in the music program don't just think of it as a strict curriculum with defined boundaries. They don't think that steel drums goes against what their vision of music is. They think that it's fun and interesting and unique and something they would like to do in the future. Steel drums are different and untraditional, but that doesn't make it bad. It attracts many people who would otherwise not be in the music program. It also attracts a different audience to the concerts. The music is different, so naturally we get different kinds of people attracted. We need this if we want to expand on the music program. I remember last year when the orchestra program was nearly cut. We almost lost a third of our entire music program. And now we're getting another orchestra teacher, we're getting more groups wanting to come and form clubs. The program is expanding in a way that it hasn't before, and Steel Drums is just another part of it. We want it to be a class because we want to expand upon the music program. It's an excellent way to do so. And to be frank, Mayapack needs something to stand out that isn't negative. We need something unique, something that's good, something that people will be like, I want to try that. And that's what Steel Drums can provide. As I said earlier, music is about diversity. There isn't just one type of genre for a reason. There's no defined way to play music. You can play it in any way that you want. And that's the same for Steel Drums. In our school, we have Liz Ojeda, arguably one of the best musicians to come through the Mayapack schools. And she plays the harp, a very untraditional instrument if you look at what most people play in our school system. But her playing the harp isn't any less valued than my playing the violin or the flute, or someone else playing the clarinet or even steel drums. And that's what we want. We want to be valued equally in the music program, just like everyone else. Thank you.
So why does Steel Drums have to be a class? Why can't it be a club? Well, most music clubs require prior knowledge of the instrument that you're going to play for that club. Jazz band, pocketpellas, chamber orchestra, wind ensemble, and sax quartet all require prior knowledge. Many students who join Steel Drums, they've never played an instrument or steel drums before. It's extremely hard to learn how to play an instrument when you can only play it once a week. Imagine trying to learn the flute, violin, or guitar, or any other instrument, but only being able to play it once a week. Just like any other instrument, steel drums are hard to play without having the right amount of practice time. We also have to be able to play in a group with other people. I've been in the steel drums since 7th grade, and I still have trouble playing the steel drums because of the short amount of practice time that we have. In other music classes, students get to rent an instrument to take home and practice. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to bring our steel drums home. We also don't have the amount of steel drums needed for everyone to have a separate one at home. Depending on what type of drum we play, the prices can range from about $200 to thousands of dollars to buy one. We'd also have to buy stands, sticks, and cases, and tune it once a year. To tune a steel drum, it would cost over $100 plus shipping. Not everyone has the money to buy their own steel drum, especially if they play those that are a lot more expensive. We're able to take the steel drums home over breaks to practice, but other than that, we don't get a lot of time. In addition to not being able to practice at home, and only getting to play once a week, many of us are involved with other clubs that get in the way of going to steel drums every week. Many of us are in drum company, other music groups, or just sports or other activities that keep us away from steel drums for a very long amount of time. And it's not always our fault either. We have snow days and we have days off, and sometimes Mr. Flynn can't stay after. There's been times that I wasn't able to go to steel drums for over a month, sometimes almost 2. If steel drums was a class, we'd get about 160 minutes of practice time a week, even if we left 10 minutes early every day. As a club, we get 90 minutes of practice a week without missing any practice time. Everyone in this program would be included, not just the people who have been playing since middle school. Many people don't want to join band in high school because they have to have the pressure of catching up with people who've played since elementary school. Steel drums is a way to get those people involved with the music, our music program, without the pressure of catching up to people who have played for forever. Many of those students will use steel drums as a way to get into the music program and later expand on their knowledge of music. I know a lot of people who are standing in this room right now who do steel drums who have never been in the music program, and if steel drums wasn't a thing, they wouldn't join the music program in our school. In middle school, I went to a steel drum concert and I saw the high school steel drummers play, and they were amazing. All of them were really talented and dedicated. I also remember being in elementary school, seeing the steel drums play, and being so excited to be part of this in high school. We as a club weren't able to play at the elementary schools this year. As teachers, you want us as students to expand and learn different things and do our best at everything that we do. If steel drums is only a club, we're not playing the potential that we could be playing.
So these are the national standards for music education. So 1, singing alone and with others, a varied repertoire of music. 2, performing on an instrument alone and with others, a varied repertoire. 3, improvising melodies, variations, and accompaniments. 4, comparing and arranging music within specified guidelines. 5, reading and notating music. 6, listening to, analyzing, and describing music. 7, evaluating music and music performances. 8, understanding relationships between music, the other arts, and disciplines outside the arts. 9, understanding music in relation to history and culture. So, as a club meeting once a week, we are unable to cover all of these standards. Right now, Steel Drums as a club is meeting only 4 of the 9 standards. We are now meeting standards 2, performing on an instrument alone and with others, a varied repertoire. 3, improvising melodies, variations, and accompaniments. 4, composing and arranging music within specified guidelines. And 5, reading and notating music. If we were to make Steel Drums into a class, we would meet all of these standards. For example, we can take sight reading tests and learn about tuning music through sound. We could also take tests on scales like they do in band and orchestra. I just started Steel Drums about 8 weeks ago, so it's very hard for me to meet all of these standards. If it were a class, it would be much easier to do so many of these things. However, I am unable to meet every club meeting, so sometimes I end up meeting 2 weeks of rehearsal. If it were a class, we would learn about the history of steel drums, but we just don't have the time to do so. If it were a class, we could record and listen to our own music and other people's music and meet standards 6 and 7. As a class, we can have individual playing and reading tests. By playing an instrument in our groups, we can learn other skills that we need in our lives.
So, you know all the facts. Why do we need this class reinstated then? Well, first, let's talk about music education in general. Music education has been scientifically proven to increase test scores. No matter your socioeconomic status or school district, students who participate in high-quality music programs have shown to score 22% or better on English and 20% or better on math standardized exams. Children who study music tend to have a larger vocabulary and more advanced reading skills than their peers who do not participate in music lessons. Along with this, music education has been proven to enhance teamwork skills and discipline. Now, I don't know how many of you know this, but the average high school student has the same anxiety levels as a psychiatric patient in the early 1950s. Also, 20% of teenagers are clinically depressed. Research shows that making music can not only lessen anxiety and depression, but can also lower blood pressure, decrease heart rate, and reduce stress. There's also increasing evidence that music can enhance the immunological response, which enables us to fight viruses. Music can also give you a positive thing to do, keeping kids out of drugs and alcohol and other things like that. So not only is music fun and promotes happiness and well-being, it also has psychological and physical benefits. So what's so great about steel drums specifically, and what sets it apart from other musical classes offered at our school? Well, the biggest difference is that it doesn't require prior knowledge, unlike band, orchestra, or chorus. It's a great class for students who want to get into the musical program or need an arts credit but have no previous experience. The steel drum is easier to play than, as we did before, the flute, but it's still not an instrument that you can learn overnight, making it the perfect candidate. It's fairly easy to pick up and accomplish for students who aren't extremely musically inclined, those who are handicapped, or anything else. It really does incorporate everyone. The history of the steel drum and the instrument itself is also very culturally rich. If done right, this class can not only unite the students taking the course, but the entire community as well. I took it upon myself to get feedback from other schools from across the country with steel drum programs as well. Some of the responses really amazed me, and I'll share 3 of them with you. This one man named Joseph Peck, he's a freelance percussionist and educator. He's currently in LA but worked at Wichita State University previously. He stressed to me that studying music is scientifically proven to enhance students' ability to process information and increases test scores and more. Playing in ensembles with other musicians helps develop relationship skills. Personally, he's seen how steel drums can connect students, faculty, and the entire community in, and I quote, an overwhelmingly positive manner. Steel Pan program at WSU is responsible for bringing in much of the fundraising money for the percussion department. They play gigs at places such as local businesses and other schools, who in return offer financial aid for the program. They participate in local festivals, parades, and to him, having a program not only teaches music, but also business skills, marketing, preparation for sound recording, and real-life scenarios. He concluded by saying, it can be one of the most enriched programs a school can have. Next one that answered me was Mrs. Cindy McDonald from Coventry High School in Ohio. She said that she's in love with the steel drum program, and they play at various concerts for other students and parents who also in the community, and they also play for various fundraising events. They play for pep rallies, before break assemblies, and more. They often play in the hallway for kids that are leaving to go home for the weekend, and she said it's so fun watching kids dance to the Caribbean music as they leave for the weekend. The last person that answered me was Mr. Bennett from Teskey High School in Michigan. He's a steel drum band teacher, and this is my personal favorite. They started their steel drums band 18 years ago. They started out with about 10 players, and they now have 38 in the top group and 20 in the second group. They have produced 5 CDs and 1 DVD. They've been to the Caribbean islands, Hawaii, and Mardi Gras in New Orleans 8 times. For Mardi Gras, they've built a 40-foot double-decker mobile stage, complete with sound system, running LED lights, and more. They play about 20 concerts over the summer and 10 during the school year. They're often paid $1,200 to $2,500 per performance. So, denying a student's music education is not only unfair, but it's also taking potential away from us. One of my favorite quotes is one from Bono from U2. It goes, "Music can change the world because it can change people." To me, and many of us in this room, steel drums is more than a class or a club. It's more than just another period in your day or an hour or two after school on a Wednesday. It's more than just playing an instrument or getting credit. Steel drums is a source of happiness, safety, stress relief, family, a voice, and more. Who is anyone to take it away from a student? Yet, at the end of the day, it's up to you. We can push and shove our ideas and feelings down your throats for the rest of our lives. But you guys are the ones who can make the decision. In my personal opinion, it comes down to this. It's either a little extra stress and cooperation trying to get a bus or an extra period or teacher to run it, or it's taking away an enjoyment, possible scholarship, music education, a safe environment, and more from us students.
We have 2 more speakers that are done, but they don't have slides.
From my experience in steel drums, I've been playing since 6th grade, and it's been a great time for me. I looked up to my sister, who's played steel drums. She just finished her freshman year of college, and she put on her resume that she played steel drums, she played the flute, she's musically inclined. And they found that when they read steel drums, it was an eye-opener to them because they don't see a lot of kids who play the steel drums. They see flute players, saxophone players, they see a lot of those, but when they saw steel drums, it was a great deal to them. Even though they don't have a program, they just find it interesting that, this girl is very talented. And then for the class, we have all the materials that we need. The budget passed, we have the drums, we have an amazing teacher, and we have 23 students lined up for this class. So that was kind of baffling to me how we don't have this class yet. And a problem that was brought to me that I heard was the lesson free period, that we need a free period. First period, there's not a lot going on. For the first half of the year, there are a total of 63 days with lessons. Out of those 63 days, only 18 of those days have first period lessons. So that's only 25%, and half the kids, the time, they forget about their first period lessons because it's in the morning and it just blows right by them because they have class. So, that is our first free period right there for the class. And now, as a music program, we had 17 new kids joining your program. And I know teachers wanted band and orchestra to increase, but what about the music program as a whole? Kids, if they really want to, could take band and steel drums. I know Colin, he's taking band and steel drums. They have the choice to take band or steel drums. It's just that they're choosing to do steel drums is because they want to do that as their music choice. And as a result of playing this class, you're losing more kids due to this cut because now they don't want to take another music class. They wanted to take steel drums because they know that this is a class I want to take for music because I don't have to have any prior knowledge. It's a great experience and it's so diverse that they don't know anyone who else has done this. So they want to be the kid, I take steel drums. And as a music department, I would find that more intriguing that there's kids joining this class. I have more kids adding on to my music program. Despite what the class is, whether it's band, music, orchestra, whatever, steel drums, whatever it may be, I would want these kids to take my music program and not go into the art program or whatever because it's very, very good for the music program to have more kids despite what the class is. And that's really...
There are 3 schools in New York State with steel drums. We're extremely unique as MAYAPAC. And this year, it's been such a tough year. I know my family, we've lost someone close to us. We've been in the news several times for negative reasons. We need something that will shed light on MAYAPAC as something good. And I think steel drums can do that. We can go to Hershey Park and perform for people and show them, look, this is MAYAPAC. I know you heard about us in the news, but this is who we really are. This isn't what the press showed you. This isn't what the journal news said. And we need that. There's so many kids who joined the music department this year. 17 new kids came here, and that's extremely good for MAYAPAC. The music program is declining, and it's clear to notice that. And now with 17 new kids, and to reject that whole class is amazing. I know I wouldn't come back to the music department after this. I would definitely leave music if steel drums is cut. We did everything we needed to do to get this class. We got the kids, we had the budget passed, we had the materials, we had the teacher, and now it's up to you guys to pass this class. That's all we ask. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Hayden Gutt. I've been doing steel drums since 6th grade. Right now I'm a sophomore. My little story about steel drums is that when I believe I was 10, I was in 2nd grade, and the high school steel drums band came to play at Austin Road, where I went. And I decided right then and there I had to be part of steel drums. So when the choice came between band and orchestra and chorus, I went through band because I assumed it would be the fastest progression to steel drums. And if it hadn't been for steel drums, I wouldn't have been in the music program, period. And I wasn't planning on taking anything in the music program from here on out besides steel drums, because that's a really important class to me. It's enriched so many people's lives. It's amazing. Like, you go through the sheer amount of people who've been in and out of this class, and you just can't imagine the things that this class means to people. And I feel like it's very important to us as members of the band for the class to go through, and I feel like it would reflect well on the school, because this is something that the kids have pushed for, and I feel that it's the right thing to do, and that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you guys for coming. We want to thank Dr. Pease for scheduling this for all of us, and thank everyone that came out to support. And we'd like to thank the rest of the committee that helped to make the decision to sacrifice their time to come and hear what the students have to say. Yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
How often does the club meet?
Once a week.
Okay. How many minutes is that one session?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
And where do you meet?
At the middle school.
What time of day?
3:30 to 5.
Okay. If this were a class, how often would it meet?
5 days a week.
5 days a week for
Can you
45
take
minutes.
it for 45 minutes a session?
Yeah.
Can you take, if you sign up for a class, that's 5 days a week all year long, or can you take it for a half a credit as opposed to a full credit?
My original plan, I
You
know
have
most
been
of you-
able to in the past.
My original plan was to do it every other day with science lab, but I know most of the people were doing it every day.
Okay. And how many students indicated a preference to sign up for the steel drum class for next year?
23, the same number of drums that we have.
Oh, very good. And then how do you, where would the class be taught?
At the middle school.
It would be at the middle school, where it currently is a club?
Yeah, where the drums are.
Where the drums are, okay.
There is a class as well when it is a class.
And how do the students get to that? That's first period, I think,
Yeah.
I heard you say?
So we would get off the bus there,
Okay.
and then we would alternately have a bus from there here, just like a shuttle from the middle school to the high school, and it was not the most reliable thing. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, all right. 23. When last time this was a class, you may not have this information, how many students signed up the last time it was a class?
Do you know?
Do you remember?
I think it was 17 or 18. Best I can remember.
Okay. Yeah, this kind of gives me an approximate. Okay. Is there a progression in the classes? You offered this class once. Can you take the same class 4 years in a row?
3 years.
3 years?
Not really supposed to take it as a freshman.
Oh, okay.
Beats me a while.
But so it's not like there's steel drum 1, steel drum 2, steel drum 3.
No, it's
It's
the
a
one
steel
class,
drums.
just
one
like
class.
orchestra, yeah.
Understand. Okay, if we have a class and we have an enrollment, we have 23 drums, we have 23 students, and then let's say next year we're offered as a class, the following year, would those same 23 stay in it, or if you have seniors that graduate, you would replace the seniors with new?
Well, there's a lot of people in the middle school who are taking it, and they would obviously replace them. And the ninth graders who are ninth grade now, who can't technically take it.
What's
Well,
offered
going to ninth grade.
What's offered at the middle school for steel drum?
It's just a club.
It's a club at the middle school. How often does that meet? Is it once a week?
It's once a week, but there's like 2 classes for different grades.
There's one for 6th grade and one for 7, 8.
No. Okay. All right. And it's a club, you said?
Yeah.
And that's before or after school?
After school.
After school. I've run out of questions. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Other than, can I have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation?
Okay.
I don't need it this minute, but I mean, I'd like to have a copy. Because you made some
Email it to me and I'll make sure the group gets it if you don't mind.
Okay.
Do you want a copy of like what we wrote too? Because not all
You
the
don't mind
information is
sharing
on
it?
this slide.
I'd love
You
to,
don't mind
yeah.
sharing it?
Could you give them to Dr. Peace, and then he'll make sure that we...
Excuse me, Dr. Pease.
Yes.
I'm a parent. My son is Anthony Liuzza. I just have to say, I am proud of every one of these kids. I think they should be commended that they have put this much thought and determination and desire for this class, and that alone should really be taken into consideration, because I really don't know of any other students that have given so much concern about a class, whether it's cut or not, and their dedication should be commended. I'm so proud of every single one of you kids. It really, as my son pointed out, MAYAPAC has been in the news for negative ways. This is what we should promote as MAYAPAC, and they should all be very proud of themselves.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And I, too, am a parent of 2 that are looking to be in this class, and I know the hours and the time and the dedication they took into this presentation.
It showed. You guys did good work. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And whatever's easy with those, if you want to maybe